We're back. This is Where You Live with Gene and Tony. I'm Tony Crockett. I'm broadcasting live from the Concierge Landscape Studios in Eagan. And Gene was broadcasting from the Extreme Exteriors remote unit powered by Skype, but he's going to get on a landline because we're having a little trouble, perhaps atmospheric interference. I want to mention in this segment that the New Concepts newsletter is available for you, to you, for no cost. There's great articles in that newsletter written by our staff, by attorneys and vendors in the industry about all types of pertinent topics. Also, some of our topics we talk about on the radio are also in our newsletter. It's free. For the asking, just call Courtney at our office, 952-922-2500. The newsletter is called What's New? Call Courtney for your free copy, 952-922-2500. Gene, you back?
Yes, I am. And
good.
I'm giving up on Skype here this morning.
That's too bad.
I'm going to toss aside the Skype studios, the mobile Skype
All right.
studio unit, and try it by phone instead. I guess the weather's probably just causing things to act up a little bit too much.
Could be.
Yeah. Well, folks, we're glad you're listening to the show today. We are about to cover a topic that I have some interest in, and that is on the area of private transfer fees. And we talked about this a few weeks ago on the show. And we talked about how homeowner associations have started to also get in the act. And at a closing, real estate closing, there's always just numerous fees that are always added on. For example, a realtor will have an administrative fee that they didn't have. This is an above to their commission, and that was for other things that are now required of them and how long that they have to keep information and be able to produce it years after a transaction is done. So they've added a fee. Mortgage companies, Tony, they've had additional fees, right?
Mm-hmm. It was pretty competitive when I was last involved with mortgages, so I'm not sure what fees they may be charging above their standard fees nowadays.
Yeah, and so when we talked about this, a few weeks ago on the show, we were talking about how a homeowner association said, well, maybe there is room or a case for us to be able to charge some fees as well. And typically, a couple of the things that we see in fees, one is when it is, in particular, when it's a new homeowners association. It's very typical, is it not, Tony, for an association to ask all of the brand-new home buyers to, when they purchase their unit, to also kick in 2 to 3 months' worth of the monthly assessment at that time.
Right.
And that all goes into a special account to help sort of kickstart the capital replacement fund for a brand-new association.
That's right. I've only seen that used in a brand-new development, and it's assessed to the first-time buyers, the first owners of those homes. Yeah.
Well, over the years now, because people have not been able to see the fees or assessments raised sometime, associations have now begun to, it's not uncommon to see them start asking that of all new buyers. And when we talked about this last time, it didn't seem to be unfair at all if you were asking the same thing from everybody, and as long as there was a specific purpose that was for the association. Right, Tony?
You're paying a fee for a specific expense or for a specific purpose, and that is to fund the reserve account. And like you said, it's being enacted and applied equitably and fairly to every new buyer. To me, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, here in Pennsylvania, it said, and this is with the help, and by the way, I guess before we get into that, Community Associations Institute is in favor of private transfer fees because they see that as a healthy way for associations to maintain themselves as an entity.
So they support homeowner associations' ability to charge a private transfer fee.
That's right.
All right.
Well, what's interesting is in this law that just passed in Pennsylvania, CAI and their Legislative Action Committee supported the bill that ended up putting some limitations on. And so you kind of wonder, and you say, well, wait a minute, I thought these guys were behind it. But there was a new type of private transfer fee that was taking place, and listen to this. It says, these were the type of transfer fees which were attached to the deed of a property that forced the seller to pay 1% of the sale price to a developer.
Okay.
So there was another private transfer fee, and this was the developer who was saying, well, yes, there is an additional private transfer fee of 1% of the entire cost of the home that you're buying, and that went not into anything for the association, but that went to the developer.
Back to the developer. And the article goes on to say for 99 years, every time that house is sold, 1% has to be paid to the developer. Now, to me, that's a fee that does not provide any service. That's a fee that does not pay for any expense. It's a fee just because they can, right?
Oh, yes. And this is a clear example of CAI working hard for on behalf of its members and homeowners, because
That's right.
Something like this is truly onerous to think about. An additional 1%. Boy, how much would a developer get over 99 years?
Oh my gosh!
In terms of all the sales and all of the homes on an extra 1%.
I'll tell you what. If that developer gave me my house for free, I might be willing to pay this. I might be willing to pay this transfer fee for 99 years if that's how they want to make their money. But if I paid them for the house, there's no sense in continuing to pay them every year for 99 years, or every time it sells. Excuse me, every time it sells.
This seemed to be so blatant, and I think the developer was probably in this case getting away with it because, as we know, that when an association is just being formed, the association is made up of its members. Well, since the developer owns the whole property, the developer is the association.
That's right, in the beginning. Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like it might be something that would make sense, but he was doing that for himself and not for the association. He was not setting it aside. Now, if he were setting it aside for the association to fully fund, it'd be interesting to see what the take would have been at the legislature then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But not for something that is blatantly something that was just allowing the developer to gain an additional money on the sales price. So the sales price is not $100,000 anymore; it's $101,000.
Yeah, that's right.
So that just seemed to be a little bit shady. We're glad that it was caught, and it looked like, and there was. The state legislature here did something that I think worked to the favor and the benefit of those living in homeowner associations.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So that's good. And as far as the things go on the show, we a lot of times rail against legislatures and some of the silly things that happen. Here's something that, again, is good.
Right.
It's kind of a good day, isn't it, Tony? We're talking about the first story about people helping people, and here legislatures actually writing some good legislation. It gives you hope, doesn't it?
It does, for today. I'm hopeful for today.
I'm hopeful for today,
yeah.
Yes. Well, we need to take another break, but when we get back, we're going to be dealing with a story about someone who has a family pet pig, a pot-bellied pig, and the association is saying, we don't think we want this animal in the association. What do you think? We're going to talk about that story and so much more after these messages.